What's up, you
Hello.
guys? Welcome back to our channel.
So excited for today's episode.
It's a big one.
It's a really big
Can you
one.
guess?
Our viewers can guess for sure.
We're entering the Charlie verse.
Wait, that's what I
Welcome.
wrote here. I wrote
Period.
step into the Charlie verse on my whiteboard.
Because that's what it is.
Yes.
That's what we're doing. We're talking about Charli XCX, not just the brat of it all, but like definitely the brat of it all as well.
That will be
But we're gonna talk about her career, her as an artist, how she's grown, changed, her relationship with the mainstream, with the critics, with the fans, with the culture. There's like so much to say.
Oh yeah, so much to say. If you are a Charlie stan already, hopefully this resonates with you, and if you're not, that's great too, because we're going to try to help y'all who maybe don't get the hype. We're going to try to help y'all understand her a little bit more and why she's so beloved by many.
At the end of this, you'll all be Charlie's angels.
You'll all be bumping that.
So, Kat, how did you get into Charli XCX? What's your story?
Yeah. So for context, Cass and I are both now super fans. However, I was very late to the game. I really only got super into her following Brat Summer.
No shame.
Yes, and I'm so glad I got here eventually. I think I've said it before. I like really feel like I've stepped into this like club of people that just gets it, or like I finally like I literally feel like I have an elevated view on life in general after being so into her music and like really understanding what she's trying to do. As soon as Brat came out, honestly, I was very hooked. Which is so funny, Cass, because of all the music we listened to, we didn't really get into Charlie that much in Granada prior to Brat. We were seeing her at Primavera. This was the week before Brat came out, but we were watching her Boiler Room in the Airbnb, and then we were just watching like all of her music videos, and you were getting so hyped, and I just remember being like, you were like, I love her so much, like she gets it. And that's how I feel now too, all these months later. But yeah, the Boiler Room and really just seeing her in action, and like hearing you talk about her more and her history and her career. And then Brat came out, and I remember it was one of my last days in Granada. I was walking around trying to figure out how to pay for a freaking taza.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
If you don't, you're so fucking lucky.
Yes.
Like,
It's basically just like a government fee for something, and you have to pay like 5 or 15 euros or something like that. But like everywhere you go is like, you can't pay for that here. Like we're a bank, but we don't do that.
literally.
So Brad came out, I was listening to that, I was walking around, and I remember as soon as I got like first song, great. Second song, great. As soon as we got to Sympathy as a Knife, I was like, wait. Each song is like my new favorite as I go listening through the album. And that experience kind of continued. I was like, maybe this will be my favorite. Maybe this will be my favorite. Like, and I remember before the album even like ended, I was texting my friends like, everyone needs to get on this. And then I was just obsessed with Brad and all of its mutations throughout the summer. And then I went preparations for the Sweat Tour, and just like since then I've been getting into all of her old discography, and I feel like now that I understand, like Brat really like got me to understand what she's doing, and now I retroactively appreciate all of her discography so much. And I think that's her whole thing. She's been doing this whole time. It's just finally being recognized within the mainstream.
Right. I checked my Last FM to like see my top artists of all time. This is since like 2019 on my Spotify, and Charli XCX is my number 2 after Beyonce, of course. But I've literally played 4,143
Scrabble.
Charli XCX songs. I was because you were like, we didn't listen to a bunch in Granada, and I was like, why is that? And I think it's because I like really was in my Charlie era, like in the pandemic. That's when I was like fucking deep. And so by the time Crash came out, I was like so eager for new music that I just fucking streamed Crash like crazy. And by the time we got to Granada, like I definitely wasn't bumping it as much because I was ready for the next thing. But yeah, my like real entry into Charlie was like Vroom Vroom, and not even like the Vroom Vroom EP, like just the song. Like I didn't even listen to the rest of them probably till like lockdown. I just remember Vroom Vroom coming out, and it was like instant gay classic. But I want to rewind to the beginning of Charlie's career.
Sometimes.
I just want to rewind. We'll get there. We'll get there
Yeah.
in a minute. So Charli XCX, her like entry into music, which I love so much. She was like a MySpace girl. She's born in 92, you know, so it's very like Y2K, turn of the century, right? Is like her childhood. And at like 14, she starts DJing at underground raves in London. And like literally like her parents would like drive her there and like chaperone her because she was like so obviously a minor. She like couldn't be alone. And like underground raves, you know, like they start at like 2, 3 in the morning, you know? So like I even love that like her parents were like down. You know, like most parents would be like,
Yeah.
fucking stay home. Like you
Yeah.
got a test tomorrow, you know? And so the first project she releases is called Heartbreaks and Earthquakes. It's like a free online mixtape. I actually still haven't listened to it. I listened to like one song. But then her second one is called Super Ultra, another like free mixtape. That one I listened to. It's you can find them both on YouTube or SoundCloud. They're not on Spotify because now she calls them quote fucking terrible MySpace music end quote. But it's super interesting to see where she started. She like said when she first started making music, she wanted to make bad rap music, which is so funny and so like almost in a way like perfectly aligned with where she not that she makes bad music, that's what I'm trying to say, but like the idea of like rap, like her like spokenness, you know, she's not always singing per se, and so that's super interesting. Just this was enough to get her signed to Atlantic for a 5 album contract at 18, which is really crazy. And she won't like Crash will be the 5th album, you know, which is like 2022. So like that's like 12 years, you know, that she's with in this contract. And what's super cool about her is she is like she started as a DJ, but she like is a songwriter, you know, and her first big hits and her first entries into the mainstream were like arguably maybe even still her biggest hits in some like maybe Guess, you know, is gonna get there, but like we got I Love It 2012 with Iconopop. And what's super interesting about this is it was originally gonna be like just Charli XCX, but she was kind of like forced to give it to Iconopop and become the featured artist because her label wasn't like confident it was going to do well enough just by her own, which is crazy because now like this isn't the Iconopop episode, you know, like we're not like maybe people know them, but they only know that one song, you know, and like that song is so Charlie in its essence. And like everyone knows that song. Like that song defined 2012. And then 2 years later, 2014, we get Fancy with Iggy Azalea, which was her other like into the stratosphere, humongous hit. And again, Iggy Azalea kind of one hit wonder, you know, like name another Iggy Azalea song. But Charlie is still here, fucking getting Grammy noms, making smashes, and Boom Clap, which is it was from the Fault in Our Stars. Which is a like I don't know. I feel like Boom Clap doesn't have the longevity that I Love It and Fancy has had.
Oh my God, I totally think it does. Boom
Really?
Clap takes me right back to being a seventh grader. Like, I remember the day I heard that song for the first time when the Fault in Our Stars soundtrack came out. Like, never a huge fan of the book, never a huge fan of the movie. Sorry, John Green and Hank Green, love you both to death. But The Fault in Our Stars was never my favorite,
Yeah, same.
and I just remember the soundtrack is just so good. But I Boom Clap is like still one of my favorite. Like, I just love that song.
That's crazy. I like it. Like it's fun, but I definitely don't like stream it. But yeah, I like everyone knew about these songs when that was happening. But I really didn't tune in till like 2016. And I remember the Vroom Vroom EP coming out, and like I think so like it did bad critically, you know, like critics were not happy with it. And this was like the Vroom Vroom EP was entirely produced by Sophie, which is super interesting because now Sophie's passed away, but like Sophie became very much like a critic darling by the end of her career. But like in 2013, 2014, when she started making music, like it was just so out there and like in left field, like out of left field, sports metaphor, that like no one really knew what to do with it, you know? Like, and I think this was really where Charli like cemented herself as like an artist like for the gays, you know? And like a huge part of that is like her collaborators, you know, like she was working with trans people, with queer people. Her collaborators very much like are her friends or her like at least like her musical peers, you know, and colleagues.
Yes, totally. And we can get more into her collaborations as we go into her discography. But what I really love is just like it, I think, you know, you go through her albums for most of them and there's so many features on them, like multiple artists on one song. And it's just so representative to me of her desire to create and like push boundaries of music, and like it just demonstrates that she's willing to collaborate and like try new things. Because then also tracks that she's featured on, like the flip side of that, like they'll be all over the place in terms of sound and stuff like that. And I think that's what's, she's such a like creative, you know, like, and she's always had that.
Boom, boom. Bitches know they can't catch
That
me.
song is so good. Should we talk about it now?
I feel like let's just get it out of the way because
Yeah.
it's not on an album, and so it's
No.
time.
And it's also like really seen as her departure but from like the kind of dreamier like pop music into the more like brash like hyper pop and stuff like that. One of the things I think is so crazy about Vroom Vroom is just like the way it holds up like a decade later.
Right.
And it's so exciting to listen to because it's so dynamic. Like there's like the three parts to it. Each one is so like clean. Like it's so like excited. Like I don't have a part of the song where I'm like, oh, this is my favorite. And like I don't, you know, like each part brings something new to the song. Like, and they
And the
all sound so
contrast.
different from each other. And the contrast, yeah, and the whole like, let's ride. Like it's so Charlie.
And it's so
And-
Sophie. Like
and
the way
so
this kind of
Sophie.
like defined PC music. So if you don't know, like PC music was like this collective. I think it was started by A.G. Cook, like in London, with people like A.G. Cook, Sophie, like Cecile Believe, like a bunch of producers. And what's so interesting is they were never like defined by a particular sound. Like they were literally, they were just like a group of people who like used the same studio type of thing. And the word hyperpop was actually like attributed to it by Spotify. Like Spotify made this hyperpop playlist in like 2018, 2019. And there's a lot of conversation online about like the Spotify like gatekeepers of what is hyperpop and what isn't. So it's super interesting. There's a really great Pitchfork article on like the death of hyperpop if you like really want to get into it.
What I wrote about Vroom Vroom is I like the I love the whatever it's called that makes the whoosh bang sounds.
Exactly.
Like the,
Exactly.
during the like bitches know they can't catch me. Like the like yeah, exactly. Exactly. I love that. And then I said that one of the, going back to how it holds up, I still think it's one of her best songs. And like it's got like the catchiness of like Crash, kind of, is what I said, with the like kind of brash industrial sounds from How I'm Feeling Now. And then a lot of like just like what you'll hear in pop too, in terms of like being like
Sonics.
hot and like sexy and like party girl and all these other things, and like also this just idea of like leaving other people behind to do what she wants. It's all in Vroom Vroom.
Also, we get introduced to the iconic Charlie XCX motif that is riding round in my fast car. Like, there are so many Charlie XCX songs about cars
Exactly.
and going fast and driving. I literally have a playlist called Carly parentheses car emoji XCX, and there's so many songs where she's talking about cars like explicitly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so dig for that playlist.
And it's also a cool motif because when you think about it, it's kind of like a luxury symbol, a status symbol.
Totally. Also, like lyrically, I feel like this is when she's like a student of pop and like a student of songwriting, and I feel like that really shines through in all her songs, but this is a great example. And so like the opening lyrics are like lavender Lamborghini roll up in a blue bikini. It's like it's more about like painting the picture, but like I'm literally just thinking like phonetically, like the sounds of the words she's making are so interesting. And it was about this era, maybe even a bit before, like before this EP came out. She like did all this work with Max Martin, who's like huge, like written so many humongous pop songs. And one of the things he's best at is not rhyme schemes, but like internal rhyme schemes and like the different vowel sounds you use throughout a line. And like that's almost like it just jumps out. Like I don't even really hear the words anymore. Like just listening to this sound she makes, like it's so it's fucking infectious. And it's like it's both like harsh and exciting. Oh my god. I just love the sound she makes. Also, like, I feel like she kind of like planted the seed for like car. Even like I love it, you know. Like I crashed my car into the bridge, you know. Like we get vroom vroom.
The other thing I think that is important and that we'll keep seeing, and that I want to talk about on this podcast, is like you said, how misunderstood Vroom Vroom was when it first came out. And I think we just really want to talk a lot about how Charli is misunderstood in many ways.
Yeah.
As a performer, as an artist, like her persona. And it's kind of like she's so, I guess, like subversive. Like people want to think that her music is just about partying and just about like, what's the word? Like drugs, like hedonistic type shit, like destructive, like whatever. But if you dive into literally any of her albums, like there's so much more to it than that. And then also she is playing into this like almost idea that people have of her.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it's not like just something she's doing as a persona for her, you know, like it is very rooted in who she is as a person, because you can see just like how she's been doing the same stuff for years and just like refining it and perfecting it like more and more and trying new things, and people really want to count her out and overlook her music, and there's just so much that people don't realize that I hope we can make clear during this episode.
Exactly. Like one of my favorite music podcasts is called Switched on Pop, and they did an album on Charli a while ago, and I think it was like the Crash episode maybe, and they're like, oh, like how would you describe her, like just from her lyrics, like what's the persona she builds in her lyrics? And they're like, oh, she's kind of like the mean girl at the party, and like I get that on its face, but it's also like so reductive because like she's always been incredibly expansive and nuanced in her lyrics, like even from her first album, which we'll get into. Like it's never been just this like I'm in the party, I look so hot, you know. Like she has songs, maybe like Vroom Vroom's like a little more catered to like this kind of like flex song.
Right.
But it's so crazy to me that like that is all you could take away from her lyrics. But like when this EP came out, like Pitchfork gave it a 4.5, which is great, like not good, really bad. And like the review was like, oh, it's so commercial and la la la, which is crazy because like you can't listen to this and be like, this was made for the radio. Like she
Right.
was
Yeah.
not trying to cater to anyone on this. And I think it's so funny. Well, not fun. It's so like ironic and interesting that like this to me feels like the first time she like took a really big leap, and was like, I'm going to do what I want. And maybe people aren't ready for this. Maybe it's not going to be received super well. And like now, 8 years later, 9 years later, it's like one of her most iconic hits,
Thousand
by a
percent.
lot.
A thousand.
And Pitchfork in 2021 posted this article and they were like, if we could go back and change some scores, and this was one of the ones they mentioned, and they were like, actually, we wish we could give it like a 7.8, which is a really strong score.
Yeah.
But it's like, damn, like she's just such a visionary. And I love that, like, both in Vroom Vroom, and I think we'll see this again a lot in Brat, like, when she really just, like, does what she wants, it's actually becomes, like, super successful.
When we're talking about her like persona or like how people perceive her and things like that, the thing that I've kind of like boiled it down to in my brain. At first I was saying like, oh, she's so like bad girls can be sad girls too. But now I'm like it's more like sad girls can be bad girls too. Like cuz she really does talk a lot about like mental health and like
Yeah.
she's very self-aware of her like destructive qualities in relationships and the things that are on her mind all the time and things like that. And
Her volatility.
yes, exactly. Like mood swings, like all these things. And she kind of like explores it all in a really honest, vulnerable way that I think is what so many people can relate to. And just like her success in her career and like how like she's grown is kind of a testament to if you really like lock into like what you want to do and want to create and you really have a vision for it like and you stay true to yourself, like things really can work out for you even if you are super emotional, even if you like have all these like mental barriers to your own success and like to successful relationships and all this stuff. Like she really has just like continued to like do her best all the time. I feel like is what's getting what I get from her music is like, and some really amazing things have come out of it, and I feel like that's part of why she's such like an inspiring artist. Like kind of in the way that like she and SZA go together in my mind right now. I think I've just been listening to them both a lot recently because of like where I'm at in life and like wanting to embrace a more emotional side of myself or like embrace like all aspects of like human emotion, like all along the spectrum, and being okay with that. And that they're both like, I need to go to therapy, like, and like, but also like, I'm so hot and like,
Right.
I'm gonna like, I'm so successful and I'm so smart. Like, y'all don't even know, and like what I'm capable
Exactly.
of. And like, it's kind of hard sometimes, but like, I'm still showing up and I'm doing it.
Yeah, I love that point because Charlie and SZA, of course, like show so much strength by being so vulnerable. And like I think Charlie especially, like she really just like she's such an artist and she has such great instincts, and she really, by like committing to herself, like in her like over like decade and a half career, like trends come and go, but like if you truly know yourself and what you want to say and what's important to you, like that's going to persist. Like something I'm thinking about with her like mean girl persona is like she's this 90s kid, right? I'm a 90s bitch. She talked about this a bunch during Brat promo, how like in the 90s, like 90s supermodel, like it wasn't cool to be nice, you know? And we're
Mm-hmm.
in this era now where like it's really cool to be nice, which honestly I appreciate. Like I love that kindness is cool and that like bullying is kind of on the outs. But like she's really like stuck with her guns here, you know? You don't have to be like warm, touchy-feely, smiley. I love everyone. And like even like when we get to like girls so confusing, you know, like being honest about these thoughts that everyone has, because like now
Right.
like being kind all the time has like turned into this culture of like fakeness, you know. And I feel like we're gonna start swinging back away from that. Yeah, so it just makes me think of like how much an artist she is and how much she knows herself. And even when you go listen to True Romance, like the thematic through lines, how she talks about herself, how she talks about relationships, like it's all there. The way she
Mm-hmm.
writes songs is obviously very different, like 12 years later. But like she has always been herself, and that shines through even in her fucking mixtapes, you know, even like in her Tumblr days, you still like hear the Charlie that you hear on Brat.
Like the mean girl thing as like a protective measure, you know? And I think just her honesty with all of her music and everything she's feeling, whether she's feeling like super sad, super hot, super horny, like whatever it is what makes her so refreshing as an artist because like you were saying with the like the culture of kindness that's happening, like obviously we want everyone to be nice to each other, but I think how that ends up showing up in a lot of like pop music right now is like almost like pop artists as like pageant girls. Like they have to be a role model in every aspect of their life. And
Yes.
like there's a lot of fear around like anything that can be perceived as outside of like just like what's acceptable of like how women behave
Women
in
supporting
society.
women.
Yes, exactly. I think when artists try to stick too much to like just what's accepted, like I think it kind of does a disservice to the fans, like because then you're just gonna feel less represented in their music, and you know what I mean.
Yes,
So that's what I love so much about her
definitely.
right now in this era of trying to rediscover like I don't have to do all these things that have been laid out for me my whole life.
Should we start dabbling with the albums?
Yeah, why not?
So we're gonna go through her albums and her mixtapes. Not gonna go too deep into any of them, but like they're just so fascinating, and looking at her career holistically is so interesting. So her first album, True Romance, 2013 debut album. She gets Best New Music from Pitchfork on her debut, which is really crazy. And they even give Best New Track to Nuclear Seasons and Stay
Mm.
Away, which they're not super into Best New Track. So the fact that she got two on like two of the singles is really insane.
Hmm.
I love this album. I've really gotten into this album like post Brat actually. Like there were a few ones I knew. Like I knew Nuclear Seasons. I knew You. Ha ha ha
I love
ha.
that one. I think it's my favorite right now.
That one's so good. But these days I'm really bumping that, and it's really giving like pure heroin, like 2010s synthy,
Totally.
atmospheric, like not a live instrument in the room, like no raw vocals anywhere about. And it just like it's so like you can't help but like think of like the Tumblr era of it all, not in a bad way, but it's like it's almost like this beautiful time capsule. And even like Charlie is so young, you know, like she's like 20, 21 writing these songs. What's your take on or experience with True Romance?
Kind of what you said just about it being such a like almost like a time capsule of the era. I think it's super strong as a debut album, like as someone who went back into it after like because I kind of went backwards in her discography. So by the time I got to True Romance, I was like this is so like again, so Charlie. But yeah, I really like you ha 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 and lock you up. It's the whole album is way like the production's way like dreamier and like breathier than we'll see later on. And I like later in her discography when she kind of when she chooses to use vocal effects, when she chooses to
Yeah.
not use them, when she chooses different ones. Like I think she really finds a way to use those as a tool to create songs and stuff like that. And True Romance, it's more like similar to each other,
Yeah.
which is also really cool in its own aspect. But it's cool to just see where she's come from to like now
Yes.
creatively.
My favorite from True Romance right now is What I Like. It's super flirty and cute. It's like about falling in love. It's very like lusty, like in the bedroom vibes. The melodies on this album are awesome. What I really love and what I like is she has this like rappy verse. And it's like this album, the word I keep coming back to for this album is it has this like gothic feel. It's like kind of dark. Like you look at the album cover, it's like her and like the colors, like it's so 2013 Tumblr emo girl. Like it's crazy. And then this like rap verse and what I like, she's like watching films like horror with the super gore. Like it's just so fun. And like these themes have gone like they're still there. You know, like she's still a movie fan, cinema girl. Now we have her letterbox. Go look at her letterbox. It's so entertaining. But yeah, I also love that True Romance. Like in Brat promo, she's like in the Lost Culturistas episode. Actually, she's like, they're like, oh, I don't know if you still like fuck with your debut, and she's like, no, yeah, like I love that album. Like I think it's a great album, which I love because lots of people end up maybe not liking their work that they made 12 years ago. Like totally understandable when you were like 19.
Right.
But I love that she still rides for it.
Totally.
And then her second album, we get
Sucker.
Sucker. Fuck you. Sucker.
That's a good one.
And this one is her like what's the word I want? Pop punk,
Yeah.
super bratty, almost like a dabble
I
of
wrote
rock.
Bratty for it too. Yeah.
The vibes have always been there.
Yeah.
And this one she doesn't ride for as much anymore. I think it was she has a podcast in an episode with Dua Lipa. She's talking about songwriting and relationships with your label. And so Boom Clap is the lead single. It's her like first solo top 10 hit, Fault in Our Stars. And then the second single,
So good.
which like isn't for a movie, is Break the Rules. And the chorus is like, I don't want to go to school. I just want to break the rules, you know? It's like, it's pretty like immature. It's very like schoolgirl vibes. And the story she tells in her podcast about this song is she wrote it at like a songwriting camp, like with a bunch of other people. And after they finished writing the song, like my words, but something to the effect of, she was like, oh my God, like whoever takes this song has no taste. Like we just wrote this for some like throwaway radio pop girl. And then like in the next months, her label convinces her to like make this one of the singles for the album, which is crazy. And the song right now has almost like 200 million streams on Spotify. And so I just love looking at True Romance and Sucker as like, True Romance was not a commercial success. Like it did not make all the sales. But to me, it very much like represents like her doing what she wanted and her very much like in her own artistic vision. Whereas Sucker to me feels like she's thinking a lot about radio. She's listening a lot to the label execs. She's like trying to expand her reach, which isn't a bad thing, but you can feel some of the sacrifices she took in her lyrics, even in the melodies. Also in Brat promo, she said like, yeah, like I don't fuck with Sucker as much anymore. Like I listen to Guts by Olivia Rodrigo and I'm like, oh, like that in my mind, like that's
What's
like a
Sucker was?
better pop punk, whatever version of what I was trying to do. And I love thinking about Sucker and Guts next to each other. Like that's so
Totally.
interesting.
Even like Sour and True Romance, into like Guts and Sucker. You know what I mean? Like I see
Yeah,
like the the like
the through lines.
mirroring. Yes. Yeah, I also think it's kind I think of a lot of the work that came after this as like the babies of True Romance and Sucker. Like I
Mm,
really feel like they're two different like aspects of this persona of Charlie XCX that she later finds a way to like marry in a way that makes the
yes.
music even more exciting and even more interesting and like just like dynamic.
I love that take when the Crash album rollout was happening, like before the album came out. She kept saying that, like, she kept making comparisons to Sucker, and even in
Mm.
her visuals, like her hair and the good ones, like shoot you, she's that big ass bump it, like that looks a lot like the Charlie when she was doing promo for this album.
Hmm.
The song I have to shout out on this album is London Queen. It's so fun. It's so like vroom vroom coded.
Hmm.
She's in the car. The last line of the hook is when I'm driving on the wrong side of the road, I feel like JFK, you know? Like, it's so crazy. Like, because it's like her, she's like moved to Hollywood, she's
Yeah.
getting famous, she's like music in LA. Oh my God. And it's so, like, that song I still stream all the time. That's probably the one I stream the most from this album. It's just so silly and so
Hmm.
Charlie.
So then we have Number One Angel. Um, I said
2017.
yes. I said that Illy too, like I Love You
Mm,
Too, and Lip Gloss are the peaks of the album for me.
ugh.
Just because again, I feel like I don't know. To me, they also feel like two sides of this persona that she's still crafting. Um, I just love I Love You Too because it's the whole thing of like, okay, usually I'm the toxic one in relationships, but like I know enough to see what's happening here because we're so similar. So like let me try to initiate the communication. Let me try to like
Mm,
take away some of the fear that's happening here and like I'm going to be the one that steps up and like you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
'cause the whole thing is like I'm not afraid, I love you too, but like kind of presume that the other person hasn't said I love you yet, you know? Um and I just like the big like anthemy feel of it also. Like I really, really that's my favorite song on the album. Um yeah, so I think it's where she's like, I know my faults and I see those mirrored in the people around me and like I'm gonna try to grow a little bit and we see that in so much of her music.
Yes. And I Love You Too, coming right after Emotional, is so good. Emotional is one of my
Hmm.
favorites on the album. And like the lines like you got me so emotional, but what she really started, I feel, in Number One Angel. So Number One Angel and Pop 2 both come out in 2017 and they're both
Crazy.
mixtapes.
Crazy.
And the mixtape of it all means that like she doesn't have as much responsibility to her label, right?
Hmm.
Because in those 5 albums that she had signed for, like they get the final cut, like they get a lot of control. And so you feel her like playing around with her sound and taking more risks again, right? This is like after Vroom Vroom. So there's a bunch of Sophie credits. And Emotional and I Love You Too are her first like real like ballads. And I don't mean ballads in that they're like slow, because like they're still upbeat and they still like have a lot of drive. But she's never really like sing a song, like that really wasn't her vibe. And now like even Brat, like there's not really as many ballads. Like we have like So I, but this idea of like super emotional, like singing heavy songs is kind of rare in the Charlie discography. So I really love Number One Angel. I remember when it came out being like, oh my God, like she gets it. And looking at the track list, like looking at the features, I mean, is
Hmm.
so crazy. Like Ray is on the first track. Now Ray is slaying. God
Right.
bless. You got Cupcake, who totally becomes this like cult classic, like 2018 to like the pandemic kind of. And you have Uffy, who's this like MySpace artist from like the early 2000s. Like she's both like reaching into the past, she's reaching into the future. Like I think this is in my opinion definitely her most underrated project. I remember seeing like a Mugler perfume ad with Hunter Schafer that used Dreamer, the first
Wow.
track. Oh my god, Dreamer is so like, and she's like falling down like in space off the side of a building, you know? Like that is exactly how it feels listening to this album. Like it is so outside of space and time. Oh, I love
No,
this
it's
song.
so like big. It's like how like the sounds are so big and like galactic,
Yes, that's
you
such a
know?
good word.
Yeah. And yeah, I wish I heard I Love You Too like when I was out dancing,
Right?
like it's so cute and it's so fun to sing along to, and then the like beat drop is so good, and like oh, I just love that song.
And like the little guitar riff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love. Love, love, love.
And then I also love Lip Gloss just because it's
Yes.
so silly. I feel like the critics didn't love this one. When I was reading the Pitchfork review, like
They don't get it.
they don't get it, but I just love the like, ooh, I keep sticky like lip
Lip
gloss.
gloss.
And then she says it's Charlie like 50 million times at the end. That it feels so like, haha, we're just like playing around at this like last like end of the album. Like we're just getting really goofy with it, and like yeah, with Cupcake on it. I don't know. I just think it's such a fun track, and
Hey, Cupcake.
one of
She
my
just doesn't
favorite
give a
things.
fuck.
One of my favorite things about like going to spaces where people are listening to slash singing Charlie XCX is like everyone sings it in her accent,
You
like
have
like,
to.
you can't not, and like it's so funny.
And that's underrated because, like, plenty of British artists, I don't hear their accent when they
Right.
sing. But because, like, she has this very, like, rappy spokenness to her delivery, like, this is a great opportunity for us to touch on her delivery. Like, she's not, like, Juilliard singer, you know what I mean? Like, she's not, like, opera girly. But, like, her delivery is arguably like the best part of so
Oh my
many of her
god.
songs. Like the way she just attacks it. And we'll really get into this in how I'm feeling now, but like a lot of the time like you look at the lyrics written down in this, they all have this kind of like brattiness to them. Like they're not trying to be super poetic, they're not trying to be like super abstract. They're often much more direct. And what she said is like having like conviction in what you're saying is so much more important and comes across so much more than like having the best voice ever and like not giving a fuck about what you're saying. And so it adds so much to
Yeah.
like even the silly lyrics, like they're just so fun because you feel so much like genuine like joy and expression and authenticity from her always.
Totally. And I also like the opposite when she's more like tender in her delivery, and it just like really it makes her lyrics more dynamic, more authentic. It gives you more of a clue into how she's really feeling, even if she's saying certain things. Like two songs I think about a lot with this are Yuck and Detonate. Um and honestly, like if you listen to most of her songs, like especially in the later works, like you'll find spots in all of them where she is really careful with her delivery. But like,
Her choices are so good.
yes, like just while we're talking about this, I'll play like a little bit of Yuck and a little bit of Detonate, just so because it just
The people know.
yes. So like Yuck, she's talking about like I am not someone who likes to be in relationships. I don't like to be crushing on someone and whatever.
I'm not a touchy feely girl
Yeah,
like
I'm
that.
not, but like you got me feeling so like ooh, like ew. You know what I mean? She says, "Calm too much, you're breaking my phone." But then she says, "Mad when you do and sad when you don't." And then
When you do and when you don't. Sure, all you're taking my code. Too cute. Now Candlelight out on the starry night. You brush my hair to the side, and you tell me I'm pretty. Yuck. Now you got me blushing cheeks so red.
It's so good. And just like the, and you tell me I'm pretty. Yuck. And then using yuck and like fuck, like both of those together in that song, it just gives so much opportunity for both of the deliveries that we were talking about, you know? And just the like irony of like the song about this massive crush being called yuck and things like that. I really love. And then in Detonate, which is another song kind of about being like, this person really likes me, like I don't even trust myself to be in a relationship with them. Like I'll switch up on them so fast type of thing. Like the album's really like the song's literally called Detonate, like a bomb. Like
Sorry, never say sorry. All my silence resonates. Think you with me, but you're wrong. Dirty, I can talk dirty. I can make you feel so sick. Switch your faith and leave you so numb.
like the like dirty, I can talk dirty. Like being so like shy and cheeky, and then she's like, I can make you feel so sick, you know, like kind of thing. I just really like what that adds to both of the songs.
Yeah, delivery queen.
So good.
So then after Number One Angel, we get Pop 2. Number One Angel comes out in like March 2017. Pop 2 is like December. And Pop 2 is like her critic success. Pitchfork puts it at number 40 best album of the 2010s. Crazy. And what's so crazy about this mixtape is she makes it in 2 weeks in New York City, quote, in between parties, end quote, which is insane.
God, I need to be on that level.
Right? It's like 10 tracks. Every single song, except for Lucky and track 10, have features. Most of them have like 2 features or 3 features. And what's so cool about this album is this is when she starts like building the Charli verse of her collaborators, you know? Mm-hmm. Like there's some people she's already worked with before. Like we see Cupcake again. But we see a lot of people that she's going to keep working with a bunch and do a bunch of songs with. It's a lot of like very queer people, very like publicly like out queer people, you know? And like you see how she uses collaborators, not as like, oh, I wrote this song, I'm going to send it to you and like do your one verse, you know, like they're very interactive. And you see this in all her collaborations. Like it's really interesting the way she uses them. Like she'll like switch off lines, they'll sing things together. Even like the structure of the songs can be super, super interesting. Like we get I Got It, which has Cupcake, Pablo Vittar, and Brooke Candy.
I love
And
that one.
it's so good. And it's kind of structured like Monster by Kanye West, you know, where it's like there's like all these different featured artists in like this song, like each one is like building on the next and the energy just like builds and builds and builds. I like totally see this one as a parallel to Shake It in self-titled Charli. I feel like in hip hop, collaboration is like a really integral part of music, but in pop it's really not. Like so often you look at like the most like lauded pop albums and like there's almost no features, you know? Or you look at Billie Eilish and it's like all the songwriting credits are like her and her brother, you know? And music critics love to be like, oh, they did it all in-house, you know? Like they
Totally.
didn't ask for anyone else's help. And that's so dumb and reductive. And like collaboration is so much a part of her brand. And I feel like this was really when that like exploded into who she was.
That's so good. I hadn't even thought about that, but you're so right. Because in terms of her being such a strong songwriter, I think like a lot of people see songwriting as like, oh, the more you can do by yourself, like the better of a songwriter you are.
Capitalism, individualism.
There you go,
Like it's so
individualism.
lame.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
So lame.
We also have Unlock It. Look it, look it, look it. That I love that one. Minus J Park's verse.
Pull up the swag.
And
Right,
wrap
Shriver.
those up. That's how we do. Sorry, J Park.
I actually don't mind it. Also, you could say bad things about Tommy Cash's verse in Delicious. Like, there's like the part of Delicious where the song literally stops and it's like her phone vibrating and her ringtone is boom clap.
Clap. Yeah.
Like, it's so funny. And people hate that because it like interrupts the song in this really weird way, but it's just so funny. Like, I giggle every time. It's so like self-referential and like irreverent.
I love
It's
it.
fucking
Oh
hilarious.
my gosh, it's so irreverent. Yeah, I just love the production. So much of pop too, like the production. I want to like.
A.G. Cook.
It's so good. But yeah, I really like Unlock It, Lock It because the whole like feeling like an astronaut all alone or watching the world all alone, you and I. The whole like production throughout the song is so like twinkly and like I literally just think of like being up in the stars in space, like it's very like roller coaster ride, like, you know, it's like
In
very
the fast
euphoric.
lane.
It's super
Yeah.
euphoric and just makes the song such a cute little like crushy song, and like it's also
The
just
production
like,
like sparkles and twinkles and glitters.
Totally.
Like, we would not have like Pink Panthers, you know, like that whole like genre of pop that's like so a thing right now and has been a thing for the last few years without like this seed of pop too. And again, like, this was not a huge commercial success. Like, Unlock It did not blow up until like a year or two ago on TikTok. You know what I mean? And I'm so glad that people are coming back to this album because it really is one of her best.
it's awesome.
Like Fembot, like the whole, even calling the album pop too
I
is
was
like
gonna say that too, yeah.
genius.
Because it's
What were
literally
you gonna
like
say?
next level pop. I was gonna ask you actually what if you had more insight because I'm newer to this. But to me, pop 2 makes me think of like, okay, this is a new version of pop, and it's like it's like pop 2.0. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
It's like we have pop and pop is great, but like I think she's just such a scholar, and this album puts so many thoughts in my head. Like, you can think about what I keep coming back to is like this idea of like electronic music as like soulless. Like, there's this great interview with Bjork from the 90s where she's like people think like electronic sounds have no soul, but like that's because no one put them in there. Like, you can play the violin with no soul if the human doesn't put the soul into the instrument. And I think this is such a huge part of why Charlie gets written off so much is because like electronic sounds are her thing. You know, like she actually just put a TikTok out a few weeks ago after she performed with Clairo in Australia. And she was like, I performed Sophia with Clairo. It's one of my favorite songs. And now I'm like, maybe I'll do an album with strings and guitars. You know, like she's never, I guess in like everything is romantic, we get some strings,
Yeah.
but like, you know, a computer wrote those strings. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
which isn't bad at all. And I love electronic music, and her being such a like, so like that being such a fundamental part of her brand, people love to be like, oh, you know, like electronic music, like bring out the live instruments, queen. And even like as a woman, like DJs are always men. Like even thinking about
Let's
like
talk
early
about it.
2000s, 2010s, like EDM was on the radio all the time, but it was Calvin Harris, it was Avicii, you know, it was all these dudes doing EDM, and maybe the woman could be like singing on it, but like that's it. And so like this is such a big reason why she gets written off, because she makes amazing electronic music, and people just like, they're like, oh, dance music, electronic music, and it's a woman, like,
Yeah.
can't do that.
They don't want, I think it, like, I mean, we'll talk about this more later. I feel like also when we talk about her being like a queer icon, but like, people don't want to have to change their perspectives to see like in this day and age, like electronic music is just as like takes just as much skill to make something like that good. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
interesting and new and fresh.
yes, and like there's so many layers to it. Like I feel like when I listen to like to it with headphones, like I'm just always discovering new sounds in the background that like just add to it, and like you said about her being like a woman, like people don't want to see that women can do things just as good or better than their male counterparts, you know?
It's scary.
Yeah.
Also, we'd be remiss to not mention track 10. Like, it's the 10th track. It's called track 10. Like, she doesn't give a fuck. This is, like, core memory is, like, me driving around Chattanooga by myself, like, blasting this song at, like, midnight on, like, a Tuesday. Like, this song, I feel like, is very much... Like, it gets turned into Blame It On Your Love and her self-titled album, which we'll get to, with Lizzo, but this song like is very much like the blueprint for Party For You, which we'll also get to, which is like having its moment right now. God bless. But it's like her perfect like build. It's like a ballad, but it's so big, it's so messy, it's so long. Like you really have to like sit with the build up, the breakdown, the build back up. But track 10 is phenomenal, and I'm looking on Spotify right now, and in my mind, like this is one like everyone knows this one, you know. It has 17 million streams. She played this at Primavera, and like lots of people did not know it. And I feel like with Brat, like she did it in our friend Erin, shout out Erin, my wife. She did it in Birmingham,
Yeah.
Manchester.
Yeah.
I think Birmingham. And it was like raining on her as she performed it. You know, like this is such a cinematic song. Like so many Charli songs, especially in these two mixtapes. Number One Angel and Pop 2 are so like made to be in a movie, make you feel like you're the main fucking character, you know? Yeah. So like I can't believe track 10 hasn't blown the fuck up. Like it makes me really upset actually.
I think it's probably because of like the build up. Also, I heard
It's 5.5 minutes.
Yeah, and I heard Blame It On Your Love before I knew track 10. I think that one was like more on the radio and stuff. Because I think it was around when Lizzo was really like peaking.
Yes. 2019.
Yeah, and so I think having that in my head first as like the lyrics and stuff. Like when I first heard track 10, I was like, wait, this is so different, unique. I feel like it's and like more interesting than Blame It On Your Love, just because that was kind of like made for
the radio.
And I still love that song too, and I think it's so fun. But like track 10, like you said, it's so cinematic, and like as an album closer, it's so rewarding when you actually do listen to the whole thing. Yes, epic. The other song I wanted to shout out on this album was Tears, featuring our girl
Caroline.
Yeah,
Hop on the pod anytime. Queen.
it's just so sad. Like that song is so sad and like ripped my heart out like of my chest. Like tears are running down my face,
Epic scream.
down my face. Yeah.
You want to talk about screaming on songs? Charli has many featured artists screaming on her songs. And this is one of the most iconic ones. Probably the second most.
I think that's another one that's underrated on this album. Because it really does stand out to me as one of the more like sad breakup-y songs, you know? Because she has a lot of breakup songs per se. But that one is like really like... It's also super cinematic. Like the like the kiss in the hallway fade out. Like, oh my God. You know, like say your name so nervously now. Like...
And like the reverb on the percussion, like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lucky was my favorite for a long time. Lucky is so good too. Ballads. Okay, moving on. Really quick before we get to her self-titled album in Charli in 2019. 2018, what's she up to? opening for Taylor Swift on the Reputation Stadium tour, like, I'm not one to like regret anything, but my one regret is that I didn't go to the
I
Reputation
also
Stadium
wish I
tour.
had gone
Like,
to the
what the fuck? With Charlie, and she would bring Charlie out to sing like Shake It Off with her at the end. Like,
Yeah.
but it's also crazy that after like the two most not radio, most out there projects of her career is when she gets put on like like I didn't check, but probably one of the biggest pop tours of 2018.
For sure. For sure.
But then 2019, we get self-titled Charlie. What are your thoughts, Carolina?
Well, I love the intro, and I love that it's called Next Level Charlie because she's so
Indicative.
it's so meta, like, and I feel like we see this in a lot, like we'll see this in like Crash and also Brat with how she opens her albums, like, okay, new chapter, new, like, this is what I'm doing this time, like the I go hard, I go fast. Again, I go speeding down the highway. Like, she's
Okay,
driving.
sing it.
She's driving. And
Yep.
she's driving real fast. And she wants people to drive with her.
Burn rubber, no crash.
Like, boom,
Crash.
boom, in the right. Like, so good. So I like that one. I like Gone.
Gone is so good.
Yes.
The production, crazy. Christine and the Queens, crazy. I saw Christine and the Queens at Coachella. Maybe like 2017. I was just like walking around. Like, it was like an hour till the next person I wanted to see. And we were like, oh, let's just like go in this tent because it's like shaded and it sounds good from here. It was Christine and the Queens. And she had like 4 backup dancers doing fucking backflips and going crazy. And I was like, okay, noted. I'll remember this. He's so talented. Like, such a good performer.
Oh, also, this is one of the songs that I feel like is more like philosophical. Like the what do we keep when the water runs? Damn, Charlie, you're asking some deep questions over here. Let me think about this. Like, why do we love if we're so mistaken, you know?
Right? Pour me one more. Watch the ice melt in my fist. This is her at like her most poetic. Like, she often doesn't really go deep into this. Also, the line, I feel so unstable, fucking hate these people. The original line was, I feel so unstable, fucking hate my label. But obviously they were like, scratch that one, queen. But really interesting to know.
That's so funny. I didn't know that. And then I just said that Official. I love Official. Also one where the delivery is really crazy, and that
Ballad
song,
bangers.
yeah, that song also hits me in the heart. And but I just think it's funny because when I was listening to it this week, I was like low-key like about to cry listening to it. And then it goes into Shake It.
I shake it, I shake it. Ooh, I shake
And I was like
fucking love
still
Shake It.
recovering, like still.
Yes.
It was kind of like when I was at the Air store, and I was like crying after Evermore, and then they go into Reputation, and I'm like, wait.
Because it's like ballad heavy, like Thoughts, White Mercedes, Silver Cross, I Don't Want to Know, Official.
Totally.
Even February 2017, like these are like deep fucking cuts. Like Gone and Cross You Out are more like upbeat, but they're still super fucking sad. Thoughts is, I think, probably my favorite on the album. It's like A.G. Cook and Charlie. In their episode of Charlie's podcast where she's interviewing A.G. Cook, she asks him, like, what's your favorite song we've made together? Because they've made a lot of songs together. And he says this one,
Cross You
which
Out.
I love because it's so... No, Thoughts.
Oh, okay.
It's so, like... The production is just crazy. It's, like, incredibly grating. It's just this one, like... sound, like, the whole time. And it's so sad, like driving around in Hollywood, like taking these pills. And the fact that it goes from Thoughts into like Blame It On Your Love with Lizzo, which is like fun, pop, whatever,
fun.
right back into like White Mercedes. Like the sequencing on this album is super crazy, and you never you never know what you're gonna get. And
Yeah.
this album didn't do as well critically, I think, because like it's her self-titled, and I feel like she really like explores herself and her sound and her relationship with like the mainstream and like being this like cult classic that she really became, like from Vroom Vroom into her 2017 mixtapes. You know, like she hadn't put out an album since Sucker came out in like 2014, you know, so there's like 5 years. And she changed so much and grew so much personally as an artist. And like so much of that is in this record. Like February 2017, she's being so vulnerable and talking about some personal experience that happened to her on Grammy night with her boyfriend. And this, I remember when it came, I was so excited for it to come out because the lead single is 1999 with our boy Troye Sivan. And it did not disappoint. Like the first listen through, I was like, yes, like she did that. Like I'm so proud of her. And people aren't gonna, like the critics weren't as hype as like Pop 2, but it still did well critically. And I feel like this really helped her enter into the mainstream while still like keeping herself and not like sacrificing her vision whatsoever.
Totally. There's so many hidden gems on this album. Like I love Cross You Out.
Sky
Guy Ferreira is so cool. And then Click, like she's talking more about her friendships.
I love that she has lots of songs about romantic love, but she has plenty of songs about friendship love too. Which is so cool. And like she'll remix Click into How I'm Feeling Now. And when like in the pandemic, you know, like our friendship relationships, like no one, like everyone knows your friends are so important, but that was when we were like, holy shit, like I just need to like be in the same room as my friends, you know, like we can all be on our phones even, but like just being in the same room is like,
Yes. I also need to show you. I was like on Spotify looking at some of the lyrics. This thing, albums featuring songs you like, Crash, How I'm Feeling Now, Number One Angel, SOS, True Romance. Like,
period. No,
like
literally.
all I've been listening to in preparation.
My jump back in. How I'm Feeling Now, Sucker, Crash, Crimes.
Oh
Choice
my
of On.
gosh, Troye Sivan.
But yeah, those first three are all Charli.
That's so funny.
Are we ready for How I'm Feeling Now?
Yeah, I'm gonna take a bathroom break and then
Okay.
we can jump into that one because I have lots to say.
And I never look back. Stop.